Hello, welcome to this video on program enrollment, and this is the second video looking at the academic progress tracker and providing an introduction to it. So I am in an APT record, which is Records and Enrollment, Program Enrollment, Academic Progress Tracker for a particular student. Okay, so just going through the basic information, it gives us the institution, instance numbers, number of APTs that have been created, so they may have a previous one, or two current ones which they could have. They could have one for their undergraduate career and one for, say, the Nottingham Advantage Award. This one is Academic Career UG, and it brings the student career number over from their record. Shows us the date it was created, the program status, their academic load, the plan it's for, all information copied from their program plan record. Then we've got the academic item ID. So this is the AIR, the program of study record, and its program format. Cohort tag, this is the stage they started the program of study on. So S1, stage 1. Cohort terms in midterm, so when they started. And curriculum term, this is essentially the term they're currently working in or planning for. Okay, so that's all that. And then down here we've got some attributes. UON date session validated, UON stage validated. This basically refers to the student self-service. When they make their choices, it records whether they validated, they checked, they clicked on the validate button in self-service to check their choices. So it could be yes, validated, no, not validated, or if there's been an admin override. So that's kind of for information that we're going to use more for reporting to check which students have validated their choices or not. Then we move across to the AIR tree. Now the AIR tree is essentially a copy of the program of study record, absolutely a copy of the program of study record. So actually, if I put you on hold for a second, I'll bring up the AIR record itself. Okay, so this is our APT. I'm going to go across here. This is the program of study record, curriculum management, activity item registry, build program by format. So you can see program of study, qualifying year, full year, and then we've got our compulsory lists, etc. And you'll see exactly the same thing here. And if I make any changes to the program of study, if I make those changes before the APT, this stage has been added to their APT tree, then those changes will come directly into here and we'll see those changes. Okay, so what have we got that's extra? So we've got APT action here, and this is the key thing. Basically, if we click on, you see this icon here, it says add planning node. And then here we've got add. If we click on this, we will add stage to enable them to plan for it, and it'll be added to their APT tree, and therefore it's in their tree. They can plan it, we can bring marks into it and all sorts of information. So we can't really do anything for a particular stage until it is planned. So if you look in the tree at the moment, this is the APT tree. This shows what's been created in their APT. There's nothing there at the moment. But if I click on this, see that it's added everything in for all the compulsory courses, etc., have been added into their APT tree, and the stage and the semester records. Not the alternative or the restrictive, because they'll come in when the student actually chooses, and we don't need to have all of them in. But here we've added in the program of study, the qualifying year, and there's different semesters and the compulsory records, which will definitely be in their APT. And if we go to the APT now, we see that all of these have been created. Yeah. And if we click on one of these records, this takes us into the APT Items tab, and it shows us the record for one of these. So let's click on the stage record. See, we've moved into APT Items, and then it's basically expanded that record, that stage record, so we can see the information that's in there already and put information in. We'll come back to that. Go back to the APT tree. So the only other thing here to note is the status. So at the moment, this is not satisfied, so they haven't completed anything yet. When it is satisfied, this will turn to a tick. So I'm just going to quickly go into here. Let's close the stage. Let's go to this course here. Let's identify it as satisfied and save that. Stage validated is required. Okay. Anyway, we can see here we've now got a tick against that course because I've identified it as satisfied. Okay, but that's all you're going to see here. So this air tree, this is showing us the full air structure as set up in the program of study, and the APT tree is showing what's been actually added to that student's APT, what they've actually planned to do. Now the APT items, this gives us the same records as this, but we can actually go in and look at information for each record. So we're going to look at the program of study to start with. We've got some standard fields up here that we'll see in all of the records, but the key one here is satisfied. So say no, waived, or yes, but it's basically no or yes. If it's down as satisfied, that means they've met all their requirements for the program of study. Or this could be against a stage or a semester or whatever it is. This field is going to be updated by the progression rule. So the progression rule is this sort of complicated rule that we're going to create, and it will run and it will check what a student has done, and it will run at the end of each stage, because generally it's going to look at what they've done in a stage, and it will update this field. So if they've done all their stages, and all those stages have been completed successfully, then this for the program of study will be updated to yes, and that will be our overall record to say the student has satisfactorily completed their program of studies. If we look under the stage, you'll see we've got the same fields, and there's a satisfied one. So if the progression rules run at the end of, say, their qualifying year, they've met their requirements, this will be updated to yes. And that's an important value because it will be used to determine whether their next planning node can be created, they can progress to the next stage, and they can plan their choices for the next stage. Okay, we'll stay in the stage record. So we've got a few other records here. Attempt number 1, parent number 1, these are kind of auto-populated. Approval status is if whether they need approval to complete something, but again, that's not really going to be used. Attempt status, so this will be identified, it's generally going to be identified as finalized. When we run the progression rule again, so you can see how the progression rule is doing a lot in here, it will basically update all the records they've attempted in that stage to finalized, including the stage record itself. Attempt outcome passed or not passed, and again this was going to be something that's going to be used by the progression rule, or will be updated by the progression rule that will check everything and say, right, you've passed this, you haven't passed this, and then that will update it like that. Eligible for retake, so this is really going to be more used for the course level, but it will identify whether the student is eligible to do a retake or not. Okay, audit fields we're not interested in. Academic item schedule. So it will populate information. So it will show us the year of the program, the first year, the academic year, that's 4, and the term, and that's going to be it for the stage level. And then you'll see here we've got results. So these will vary depending on which record type we're looking at. For the stage, it brings in these result types that we set up in the program of study. So fail credits, in progress credits, level credits. So we will hold these against the stage record, and the overall result will be populated by the progression, well, part either the progression rule or a kind of supplementary rule that's going to run to fill these result types, and then the progression rule will use the values to calculate whether somebody successfully met their requirements for the stage. Okay, well, let's go and have a look at a course, because the course is kind of the next sort of the most interesting one here. So for the course, we've got an additional row called enrollment category. So we can see this one's compulsory, but we could have alternative or restricted or whatever. This is the one I updated manually to show that it's been satisfied as yes. But normally that will be again updated by the progression rule, which will check the results to see if that's true, and it will update it as yes or no. We've got a substituted option here, so we can substitute a course with another course if we want to for a specific student, and if that's the case, the original record's still kept, but it'll be identified as substituted. And then we have these same fields that we looked at as above, and you can see that there's most of the fields are common across all the record types. So approval status not required. Attempt status will be changed to finalize once the progression rule is run. Attempt outcome will say it's passed or not passed, and then whether it's eligible or for retake or not. If we look in the attempt schedule, so we get the same stuff as we had in the stage. We've got the first year program, academic year, and the term. But then for this course, we have the session it's attached to. Academic period we're not using, but then it also tells us the progress level. Where it says planned, that means the student has chosen it in their planner. Where it's in progress, that means that they're enrolled on the course. And that will be updated through the APT sync, which brings back the course enrollments into the APT, or at least updates it. Where it's dropped, it means they originally enrolled on it, but now they've dropped it, and completed means they successfully completed it. They've got a mark, pass mark. Okay, so that's quite an important one in terms of seeing what they've done for each course. And finally, we've got these results, which we saw above in the stage one, where we've got number of failed credits, etc. Well, this is a bit different for the course. So the course is going to show us, where is it? So it will show us the result type, which will be, let's say, original attempt or first resit or whatever. And then it will bring in the value and the grade. So the grade is going to be the mark. We haven't got it. Oh, let's pick the grading basis. Okay. So this information, if you've looked at the IAM, Activity Management, you'll be familiar with this. So this information is going to be populated by the IAM result posting process. It's going to take the information out of the student's individual activity manager record and populate it in here. And it does that. So when the progression rule runs, it's going to pick that information up from here and work out how many credits the students passed and what the pass mark was, and then work out what the overall sort of average is for that stage, etc. So it's all that's going to happen in the APT, but it's bringing the information across for that course from the IAM. Okay, so that's all that's really happening. So what we can see, there's a lot of information here that's coming in from other places. We've got the IAM information coming in for the course. We've got information coming in from course enrollments and their planner to show what status that course is at. We've got whether it's been satisfied or not, whether that's the course or up here at the stage level, and that's going to be done all populated by the progression rule. And then we've got information here that's going to help to or be used by the progression rule to work out what the overall outcome for a stage or indeed a degree is. Okay, so that's the APT items, essentially a repository for a lot of information that will be used by the progression rule to work out whether the student is progressing or not. And then finally, we've got the timeline. So this is created from the enrollment cohort. So when the student's APT is created, it picks up the format ID for their program of study. It looks at their cohort tag, looks at their admit term, and then it adds in this timeline. So here we can see that stage 1 is 3160, stage 2 3170, stage 3 3180, and then we've got the sessions that have been added in for each one of those stages. Now, if you want to create a personalized timeline, let's say I've got a student and they're suspending for a year. So this student here, they started in 3160, but they're going to be ill and they're not going to be able to do stage 2 in 3170. So all we can do there is, right, we're going to change that to 3180. So we copy that, paste that into there, paste that into there, paste that into there. And then we'll put in 3190, 3190. Copy that, paste that into there. Yep. Save that. Okay. And we can see that now, oh, I didn't update that one. 3180. And so it will adjust their timeline. Which was the field? UON stage validated is required. Oh, that's right. Just bear with me. I didn't take this at the start. That was naughty. Now it'll let me save. So that's saved. Go back to the timeline. So that's now set. Now let's see if it's adjusted the timeline in the APT. Of course, it's not going to show it in there, is it? Okay, but just you can assume that this is the personalized timeline, and that's the one that they're going to be working off. And that's it. That's your introduction to the APT.